Welcome back to Marvel Maniac and MCU Aftershow. I'm your host, Eric Cicada, aka Mr. Honest, and today we're doing something a little bit different, revisiting Black Widow with fresh eyes, 4 years after its release. Just hit the 4-year mark on the 7th. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been that long. One of the first movies I covered going into, maybe the first movie I covered literally on the podcast, going into a theater and coming home without notes in my hand and very fumbled and nervous. And I think I've come a long way. And this movie ages like wine. I think it's even better now than when I saw it. So I figured we'd do a traditional episode for Natasha Romanoff herself, because she is epic. And this was an epic venture. And I had to use that word twice because there's no other words that can describe it for me. At the time of its premiere, Black Widow served as a long overdue spotlight for Natasha Romanoff and a bridge between Civil War and Infinity War. But looking back now, this movie hits very differently, especially with how far Yelena Belova has come since this story began. And, you know, based off my instant reaction right now, like, Yelena is without a doubt the heart of this movie. And it might have not been something I was able to label because she was such a new character at first, but such a likable character. Watching this again with everything we know now about her from Hawkeye and Thunderbolts, which released a few months ago, feels like yesterday, it's clear that this film isn't just about saying goodbye to Natasha, which it is, but it's about introducing her sister and her father and carrying on her legacy. Now, we know that Yelena isn't her true sister and Alexei isn't her true father, but as we find in this movie, found family is kind of the theme. And even though at the time of this recording, Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, had seen her day on screen in Endgame, going back to see her in her own movie, even a few years back at the time, like placed in the Infinity Saga, I thought that was exciting. And I think I really would, if I'm doing a rewatch of the MCU, probably watch Black Widow right after Civil War, going into Infinity War. And there's actually Black Panther in there too, but I would definitely put Black Widow in there. I'd probably put her right before Infinity War because it goes right into it. It sets it up so good. The only thing that kind of spoils that is the post-credit scene with Valentina, and we don't want those spoilers. So, I mean, this is for rewatches, but I still probably would recommend to place this movie in that timeline. I mean, it's just so good. And the family dynamic hits so much harder on a rewatch. The fact that they only spent 3 years together, yet those years shaped Yelena's entire sense of family, that innocence, that belief that these people were truly her parents and sister, it still breaks my heart, especially when you think about how Nat and Yelena are ultimately reunited by that photo album. That moment tells us, yes, these connections mattered to these characters, even though they deny it at the time, and they always did. Now, this being a 4-year anniversary Black Widow episode, it's just kind of crazy to think. That's already a year more than they spent together. That's how important the younger years of a kid's life is, in my opinion. You know, 3 years is like it's a whole lifetime. It feels probably like we would feel 10, 15 years as a kid. So that time meant a lot to Yelena, and the innocence of Yelena, it's not taken away in this movie, but she's definitely got way more innocent vibes than her hardened Thunderbolts, not persona, just who she is by the time she's in that movie. I think I had like a teenage crush on Scarlett Johansson, so seeing her kick ass has always been just amazing for me. That running joke on the superhero pose that she does, and Yelena calls her a poser, and she does it later. Probably one of my favorite running jokes in the movie. I think Black Widow looks so badass in that snowsuit. And then obviously that avalanche comes, and oh my goodness, what a great scene. This movie is packed with action. And Yelena's humor is so standout as well. She brings comic relief in the most natural, grounded way. Her vast jabs at Natasha's superhero pose, like that childlike curiosity about the world, it's just also genuine. And knowing where her story goes now, from this innocent young Black Widow to becoming one of the heart of the new Avengers, that arc makes Black Widow feel even more important now than it did then. So let's break it down even further. Family ties. The Red Room ripped these girls from their lives. At the beginning of the movie, they're whistling at each other, and they're just in a beautiful park with fireflies, and Honestly, it looked like they were having the best childhood, but this movie shows how trauma doesn't erase love. And that's important because what happened to them as kids shapes who they become, especially Natasha. We even start seeing visions of the Red Room as far back as Avengers Age of Ultron when we see her, get taken over by Wanda for a minute. Not really taken over. I think Wanda just puts a spell on all their heads so they can see visions and get traumatized and all that. Even when Melina, her mom, and Alexei seem cold or distant, by the end of the movie, we see the cracks in their armor. And they did care, and they do care. And that realization lands hardest when Natasha finds that photo album. It reframes everything. And I feel so much for Yelena. She grows in the movie as a character. They just did such a fantastic job at subtly introducing such a key point character. Because this was Natasha's movie, Scarlett Johansson's movie, but they did want to plant seeds for the next to come. Yelena believed that this family was a family because she never stopped wanting them to be. Her innocence comes from being freed from the Red Room's mind control right at the start of this film. She's just starting to reclaim her life, and her belief in found family becomes a cornerstone of her character moving forward. So how about the Red Room and the Taskmaster and Dracov's daughter? We heard Loki talking about her in the original Avengers, and she's got red on her ledger. All that comes to play in here. We learn about Dracov. We learn about his daughter. The Red Room itself is finally brought down by the end of this movie. Natasha ends what made her. The pheromone twist, that was pretty wild. That guy was a different kind of evil, and it's a similar evil that we see in our day-to-day than like a supervillain. He's just this deep, awful, like he's underground and trying to control everything. It's just insane. And this needed to be put to a stop. What a cocky guy. And he didn't think he could get outsmarted and taken down, but Nat had a plan. And the fact that her and her mom worked together to do that, I think it brought peace to Yelena because the family she believed in is finally working together. And Taskmaster's story. Talk about tragic. Dracov's daughter. And knowing what happens to her. I'm sorry, spoiler alert for the Thunderbolts. Just knowing what happens to her, essentially dying like, not off screen, but like just so fast in the Thunderbolts. It just makes her role even sadder in retrospect. This movie really actually makes you feel for this character. And sorry for the spoiler, but she gets off like right away in Thunderbolts. So I think that was just a way of showing us nobody's safe. And this is a high stakes movie, which I can respect. I mean, we didn't really get to know her as a person too much. And Nat did everything she could to save her and help her. And she did not want that to happen to her. She looks horrible. She got blown up and put back together by her evil father. That is a complex villain for you right there. Now, the comic book fans and a lot of Marvel fans, respectively so, they wanted a guy to play the role and him to have more of a personality because traditionally Taskmaster is like a guy and he is learning all the Avengers stuff. So they took the main pieces of him and made an original character for this movie. Maybe they'll reintroduce him in Secret Wars or maybe even like in the next saga in a different form. By the way, I want to interject this in there too because I didn't say it. The Red Room itself, how freaking cool is that? Just this giant fortress in the sky embedded with evil and secrets. And that's how they stayed off the radar all these years. Natasha thinking she ended them. And the reason she killed a little girl in her own mind. That's what she's been carrying her whole life. That's what Loki was referring to, Dracov's daughter. He knew. How did Loki know the Mind Stone and the Scepter? And I probably have been through this train of thought before, but I just gotta say this movie had heart. And an example of that standout scene is the Bye Bye American Pie moment. At the beginning, it's Yelena's innocence just about to be taken away, and she's singing in the car, young Yelena, and she has no idea what's about to happen to her. And we get to see in the title sequence the horrible things they did to these girls, and you even see young Yelena being taken away from her sister, and it breaks my heart knowing that that is her sister. And you know what? Nat went away. That was her sister. Black Widow / Nat Romanoff comes to term with who her family is in this movie. Not her biological family, but a family at that. And at the end of the movie, she admits it to Yelena, and that means a lot to me. But coming back to American Pie, they bring it back when Yelena is upset, realizing that no one considered them a family but her, and that's what her whole life and early memories are based on. Alexi's doing everything he can to cheer her up, but, he can only do so much. However, he went across the room, and before he left, he started singing Bye Bye American Pie. I love seeing that bond between Yelena and Alexi kind of come together, and just knowing quietly that they will reunite in Thunderbolts, and we get to see more of them, and they have their own bond. And in this film, packed with action and spy drama, it's these quiet human moments that really remind us who these characters really are. So the greater impact on the MCU and context chronologically, this movie sits right between Civil War and Infinity War, nestled very nicely there. You could literally tell new watchers to watch it in that order, only if it weren't for the post-credit scene. I would just tell that friend, don't watch the post-credit scene after credit scene, because it might spoil things for you, and we don't want that. If I were doing a rewatch, though, I'd place it there for sure. Looking at the film now in retrospect, knowing where Yelena goes from Hawkeye to Thunderbolts, and she's not just a side character anymore. She has like heart of the franchise material, and I think this film is where that started. For Natasha, this movie gave her a send-off, a second send-off, but really the send-off she earned. She earned her own movie. Plus, it also filled in gaps in her character's story that we didn't get answers to, like Dreykov's daughter. What the hell was Loki talking about? Finally, we get an answer to that. She deserved it, in my opinion, and I still think she deserves to come back somehow in some way. She denies it, but I think every actor who's going to be in Secret Wars is going to be denying it, and we're going to be just fan-serviced. We deserve it. We are spoiled. We are actually spoiled with all the great movies we get. And Natasha walked away with peace with her family, and she flew straight into Infinity War with just a little more closure than we ever even realized. Infinity War is my favorite Marvel movie, and I looked up at my wall at the poster. I have a display of it. Not sponsored by them yet. Would love to be. I got an Avengers Infinity War one right. I got all the Avengers, but I'm looking at Infinity War, and I'm thinking, I never actually did an episode on it. I have almost 200 episodes in here, and I don't think I ever did an episode on my favorite movie. But, with Ryan Airy, we talked Thanos on episode 100. So that was kind of in place for the talking about Infinity War. I just think, I guess I'm saving it subconsciously for like a big day, because maybe episode 200, because I don't know if I'll be able to get an amazing guest again, like Ryan Airy for the 200th episode. But if I do, I'll surprise you. But realistically, maybe we'll just talk about Infinity War, and I might tell you how it impacted my life, and just, gosh, how it is just MCU at its peak greatness, and the writing, and all of it. We'll talk about it another time. The fact that we get to hear that Avengers song play as Natalie, does anyone call her Natalie Romanoff? Natasha. I'll call her Natalie personally. That'll be my name for her, because me and Black Widow are obviously friends in another universe. It's time for the Community Corner. That's a new section. There is no listener feedback today, but if you're revisiting Black Widow with me, I want to know, how does this movie land for you? Does it hit? Does it know where Yelena goes? Does it feel like more of a Natasha finale, or more like a Yelena origin story in disguise? Let me know. MarvelManiacPod@gmail.com. Always open to you. Send your thoughts. They will most likely be featured on the show unless they're terribly mean. Maybe I will call you out and put you on the show in that sense. No. Thanks for tuning in to Marvel Maniac, an MCU Aftershow. If you liked this episode as much as I liked watching Nat Romanoff fight Taskmaster among a bunch of falling debris, hundreds of feet up in the air, one of the coolest action scenes in all of Marvel that I actually didn't mention, but it's so good. It captivates you similarly to how this movie captivates me, and it's very nostalgic now, just knowing what happens to the characters. And wow, And, you know, I can say an instant classic because it's been 4 years, but it doesn't feel like 4 years. And that just goes to show how long we've been without an Avengers movie, too. Thank you for listening. It means the world. Leave a review if you can. It really helps us, and share it with your Marvel-loving friends if you liked it. Check out our patreon.com/MarvelManiac for exclusive minisodes every Saturday. Coming up, Loki Season 2 continues. The TVA is fractured, timelines are branching, and Loki is still fighting to hold it all together. Also, if you're a Harry Potter fan, join me in Magic Muggle, a Harry Potter after show. We just premiered our first episode Saturday, and it's 2-episode premiere. If you love Harry Potter, join us. Magic Muggle, a Harry Potter after show. It is going to be a fun project going through the books, the movies, and then the series when we get there. So we got a lot of Marvel ahead of us this year on TV, and we only have one movie left, and that's Fantastic Four. Are you revved up for it? And that's your email, MarvelManiacPod@gmail.com. Okay, I'm definitely holding the end. I'm very bad at goodbyes. Until Loki, next week, Avengers, disassemble.